My name is Genevieve Laurent. I'm 32 years old, and until that Thursday night, I believed something very simple about love. That if you showed up consistently, if you gave your time, your attention, your care without turning everything into a negotiation, eventually the person beside you would meet you there. Not perfectly, but honestly. I built my life around that belief. I work as a logistics coordinator for a medical supply distributor in Raleigh. It's not glamorous, but it's steady, predictable. The kind of job where details matter, where people depend on you to solve problems before they become emergencies. I make a good living. 3 years ago, I bought a one-bedroom condo just north of downtown. Clean space, quiet building, a coffee shop across the street that knows my order before I say it. It was the first thing in my adult life that felt completely mine. Then Daniel moved in. We had been dating a little over a year when he brought his boxes through my front door, smiling like this was the beginning of something permanent. We stayed together for almost 3 years total. Daniel was 30. He worked in event planning. He had this easy charm, the kind that made strangers trust him within minutes. Warm, spontaneous, effortless. He could be all of those things. He could also turn every disagreement into a test I didn't know I was taking. If I brought him dinner after a long day but forgot his favorite drink, it meant I was getting comfortable. If I asked what time he'd be home, it meant I was controlling. If I questioned why he disappeared for hours without responding, it meant I was insecure. Everything had a second meaning with him. If I cared, I was needy. If I stayed calm, I was distant. If I apologized, I was learning. If I pushed back, I didn't love him enough. I didn't realize how exhausting that was until the night everything broke. It happened at a small Italian place in North Hills, Thursday night. Nothing dramatic at first. Breadbasket, wine list, soft music playing low enough that conversations felt private. We were halfway through dinner when Daniel set his fork down. He looked at me with that carefully measured expression people use when they've already rehearsed the conversation in their head. "I think we've become too predictable," he said. I remember tilting my head slightly. "What does that mean?" He leaned back, exhaling like he was about to say something profound. "It means I care about you," he said. "You're safe. You're dependable. You're good, Genevieve." Something in my chest tightened. "But?" I asked quietly. "But I don't know if you're the last person I'll ever love." There it was. Clean, precise, surgical. He went on, talking about growth, about not wanting to make a lifelong mistake, about needing space to explore his feelings before settling into something permanent. And then he leaned forward, close enough that it almost felt intimate. "If you really love me," he said softly, "you'll let me see other women for a while." For a second, I didn't react. Not because I didn't understand, because I understood perfectly. He wasn't asking for space. He was asking for permission. Permission to keep me exactly where I was, loyal, steady, waiting, while he tested whether something better existed. He wanted emotional security without offering any in return. He wanted the comfort of knowing I'd still be there, just in case. I placed my napkin on the table, carefully, deliberately. Then I looked at him and said very calmly, "Then you can love me from somewhere else." He blinked, actually blinked, like I had gone off script. "What?" he asked. I repeated it, slower this time. Then I told him that if seeing other women was what he wanted, that was his right. But he wasn't going to do it while living in my condo and calling me his girlfriend. I paid my half of the bill, stood up, and walked out. He followed me into the parking lot, his tone already shifting. Less thoughtful now, more irritated. "You're overreacting," he said. "This is exactly why I feel trapped sometimes." I didn't respond. "You're being dramatic, Genevieve, immature, possessive." I unlocked my car, got in, and drove home. By the time I reached my condo, I had 12 missed calls. I didn't answer a single one. Instead, I went inside, opened the hall closet, and pulled out 3 storage bins. Then I started packing. Only the obvious things. His clothes from the closet, his shoes by the entry bench, his watch tray, his laptop stand, the cologne he left on my bathroom counter, the framed photo he insisted we put in the bedroom, the hoodie he always claimed as his favorite. I moved methodically. Not angry, just done. At 11:40 p.m., I changed the door code. Then I sent one text. "Your things are packed. You can pick them up tomorrow between 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock. After that, the code changes." He called immediately. I declined it. Then came the messages. "I didn't mean right now. I just needed time to think. You're punishing me for being honest. This is why people don't tell you the truth. Genevieve, pick up." I didn't reply. The next morning, he showed up at 9:12, sunglasses on, coffee in hand. Like if he acted normal enough, reality might follow. He knocked once. I opened the door, but left the chain on. He looked past me into the condo. Are you seriously doing this? Yes, I said. You're taking what I said too literally. No, I replied. I'm taking it exactly as you meant it. He exhaled sharply, shifting strategies. Love is complicated, he said. Mature couples know how to navigate different seasons. And then he said the one thing that confirmed everything. I thought you'd fight for me. There it was. Not honesty. A test. A performance dressed up as vulnerability. He wanted proof that I would chase him harder the more unreasonable he became. I stepped away from the door briefly and brought his bags. Set them just inside the threshold. He didn't move. Just stood there, waiting for me to crack. Waiting for me to say, come inside, let's fix this. I didn't. And when he realized that, his expression changed. The softness disappeared. You're going to regret being this proud, he said quietly. I met his eyes. No, I said. I'm going to regret staying too long. Then I closed the door. That should have been the end of it. It wasn't even the beginning. The first 2 days after Daniel left were quiet. Too quiet. I went to work, answered emails, fixed a routing issue with a delayed Tennessee shipment that had been sitting unresolved for hours, came home, sat in my living room, and noticed something I hadn't felt in months. Peace. There was no tension sitting in the air, no waiting for his mood to shift, no second guessing whether a simple question would turn into an argument. I slept all the way through the night. For the first time in a long time. By day 3, the silence broke. It started with a text from an unknown number. Hi, this is Marissa. I'm Daniel's friend. He's really not doing well. You should at least give him closure. I stared at the message for a few seconds, then replied with one sentence. He asked to date other women. I agreed he could. Then I blocked the number. An hour later, I got a message on LinkedIn from his younger brother, Tyler. Hey, Genevieve, I think there might be a misunderstanding. Daniel said things got out of hand and he didn't mean it the way it sounded. That told me everything I needed to know. Daniel had already started rewriting the story, so I sent Tyler a screenshot. The exact message Daniel had sent me after dinner. I thought you'd fight for me. No explanation, no argument. Just the truth. He didn't reply again. By the end of the week, Daniel had shifted from private damage control to public theater. Instagram stories from bars in Charlotte, then Nashville. Captions about choosing yourself and not settling for love that tries to control you. There were women in the background of some of the posts. Nothing explicit, just enough to be seen, just enough to send a message. I didn't react, didn't watch the full stories, didn't ask mutual friends what he was doing. I muted, archived, and moved on. And somehow, that seemed to bother him more than anything. Because about 10 days after the breakup, he started showing up. The first time was at the coffee shop across from my building. I was sitting by the window, laptop open, halfway through a report, when the door chimed and I felt it before I saw it. That shift in the air. I looked up. Daniel stood just inside the entrance. He froze when he saw me, like he hadn't expected I'd actually be there. Then he smiled. Too bright, too practiced. Hey, he said, walking over like this was normal. Can we be adults and talk? No, I said without closing my laptop. He blinked. Again. That same confusion from the restaurant. Like I was still supposed to be following a script he had written. Genevieve. No, I repeated, my tone steady. He stood there for a second longer, then nodded slowly, like he was the reasonable one. Okay, he said, I'll give you space. He left. 2 days later, he was at my grocery store, one aisle over, pretending to compare pasta sauces while glancing at me every few seconds. I paid for my things and left without acknowledging him. A week after that, Marcus, the doorman in my building, called up to my unit around 11 p.m. Hey, Miss Laurent, he said carefully. There's a guy downstairs saying he forgot something here. Says he just needs 5 minutes. I didn't even have to ask. Dark hair, I said. Yeah, Marcus replied. Looks upset. Don't send him up, I said. There was a pause. He's getting a little emotional down here, Marcus added. You want me to call him a ride or just ask him to leave? I hung up. Then opened the lobby camera feed on my phone. And there he was. Daniel. Hair slightly messy, shoulders tense, holding a small tote bag like it meant something. Like it gave him a reason to be there. Marcus spoke to him. Daniel argued for a moment, then finally turned and walked out. The next morning I woke up to a 4-paragraph email about how love shouldn't be this transactional. I actually laughed out loud. Because nothing is more transactional than asking someone to wait while you explore other options. Around that same time, something unexpected happened. My life got better. Not dramatically, not all at once, just steadily. I started running again. Joined a Saturday morning group at a park near the art museum. The kind of group where no one asks too many questions. They just run beside you until conversation feels natural. I signed up for a certification course through work, something I had been putting off for months because Daniel always complained when my weekends didn't revolve around him. My manager noticed. 3 weeks after the breakup, I was moved onto a larger regional account with a pay increase. And through that running group, I met Lucas. He was 31, worked in pediatric physical therapy, wore worn-in baseball caps, and laughed like he didn't have anything to prove. Our first conversation lasted 20 minutes. Our first date lasted 3 hours. There was something different about him. He asked direct questions, listened to the answers, didn't twist them into something else. Being around him felt easy, in a way that didn't make me anxious afterward. I didn't tell Daniel any of that. Apparently he found out anyway. Because the escalation started the same week, Lucas and I were seen together at a street fair downtown. That Monday, Daniel showed up at my office, carrying a paper bag from my favorite sandwich place. The receptionist called me. "Your boyfriend is here with lunch." "My ex-boyfriend," I corrected. "Please tell him I'm unavailable." She hesitated. "He says it's important." It isn't. He waited anyway. When I came down 20 minutes later, with one of our warehouse supervisors beside me, Daniel was standing near the front desk, smiling, like he had won something. He held out the bag. "I just wanted 5 minutes," he said. "Love like ours doesn't disappear in a month." I didn't take the bag. "Take your lunch and go home." His smile faltered, then sharpened. "So," he said quietly, "there is someone else." I looked at him. "That stopped being your business the night you asked me to share." Something snapped. He shoved the bag into my chest. Hard. The chips inside burst with a sharp crack. The receptionist gasped. And just like that, his entire demeanor shifted. His eyes filled with tears. His voice broke. "You're so cold," he said loudly. "I loved you, Genevieve. I only ever loved you." People were staring now, watching, judging. He wasn't talking to me anymore. He was performing. Security stepped in quickly, escorted him out. That night, his mother called me. I expected accusations, blame, guilt. Instead, I heard something else. Exhaustion. "Genevieve," she said softly, "I need the truth. Did he really tell you he wanted to see other women?" "Yes," I said. There was a long silence. Then she sighed. "That sounds exactly like him when he wants attention." I didn't know what to say to that. "I'm not calling to excuse him," she added. "I just had a feeling I wasn't getting the full story." Unexpected ally. I told her I wasn't angry with her, but I was done being pulled into Daniel's chaos. She said she understood. I never heard from her again. Daniel, however, was just getting started. Daniel didn't fade out. He adapted. At first, it was small things. Fake accounts watching my stories. No profile pictures, no posts. Just quiet, consistent views from names that looked randomly generated. Then comments on an old hiking photo from months ago. Hope he was worth throwing away something real. I deleted it. Blocked the account. The next day, Lucas told me someone had sent him a follow request from a blank profile. No posts, no bio. Just a username that didn't quite make sense. He didn't accept it. Didn't need to ask who it was. A few days later, I walked out to my car after work and found a folded piece of paper tucked under my windshield wiper. My name written across the front. Inside, in handwriting I recognized immediately. "You know we're not finished." That was the first moment something shifted inside me. Not heartbreak, not anger, awareness. Because heartbreak is emotional. This was becoming patterned, intentional, and patterns can escalate. So I started documenting everything. Screenshots, dates, times, the fake accounts, the comment, the note. I requested copies of the security report from the office incident, saved the lobby camera stills from the night he tried to come upstairs. Lucas didn't hesitate. "Keep everything," he said, "just in case." He didn't say it dramatically. Didn't try to play the hero. He just understood. And that told me more about him than anything else. Then came the restaurant. Friday night. A rooftop place in Durham. Nothing fancy. String lights. Music low enough to talk over. The kind of place where everything feels easy if you let it. I was halfway through telling Lucas a story about a terrible college roommate when his expression shifted. Subtle, but immediate. His eyes flicked over my shoulder. I turned. And there he was. Daniel. Red button down. Dark jeans. Every detail deliberate. The same cologne, the same presence. He walked straight toward our table like he belonged there, like this was unfinished business. So, he said, looking directly at Lucas, "This is him." I stood up immediately. "But Daniel, leave." He ignored me, tilted his head slightly, studying Lucas. "Do you know," he said casually, That she was talking about forever with me 3 months ago? Lucas didn't stand. Didn't react the way Daniel wanted. He just looked at him and said calmly, "I know enough." Daniel laughed, but it wasn't real. There was something sharp under it, something unstable. "Of course you do," he said. Then, before I could react, he reached for the water glass on the table and tipped it directly into Lucas's lap. Everything snapped into motion. Chairs scraping, staff rushing over, my voice rising as I stepped between them. "What is wrong with you?" I said, my pulse pounding in my ears. Daniel's voice cracked as he shouted, "You replaced me like I was nothing." The manager was already on the phone. Police. By the time they arrived, Daniel had shifted again. Tears, shaking hands, soft voice. "I just wanted closure," he said. But the story didn't hold. Too many witnesses, too many details. An officer pulled me aside briefly, his tone steady. "This isn't closure," he said. "This is escalation." Daniel was issued a criminal trespass warning that night. He wasn't allowed back. 3 days later, I sat across from a very patient attorney named Elise, a folder between us. Every screenshot, every report, every note. Organized. Dated. Clear. "We have enough," she said simply. So we filed. A protective order. The hearing was 4 weeks later. Daniel showed up looking different. Cream sweater, hair neatly pulled back, no intensity, no sharp edges, just quiet. Carefully constructed quiet. His attorney framed it exactly how I expected. A sad breakup, emotions running high, a few misunderstandings, unresolved feelings, nothing more. Then Elise opened the folder, and everything changed. Lobby footage, office security report, screenshots of the fake accounts, the handwritten note, photos from the restaurant, Lucas's soaked shirt, and finally, the beginning. The messages from that night. "If you really love me, you'll let me see other women for a while. Then you can love me from somewhere else. I thought you'd fight for me." The judge read that last line twice, slowly, then looked up. "Mr. Daniel," he said evenly, "relationships are not maintained through coercion, repeated unwanted contact, or public confrontation." He glanced back down at the documents. "You asked for freedom. She accepted it." A pause. What followed was harassment. The order was granted. 12 months. No contact. No proximity to my home, my office, or any place I was known to be. Daniel cried on the way out. Real tears this time. Or maybe just the kind that come when consequences become official. Either way, it didn't move me. What moved me came after. Silence. No more fake accounts. No more notes. No more unexpected appearances. No more performances. Just silence. And in that silence, my life kept improving. Lucas and I took things slowly. Actually slowly, not the kind that hides indecision. The kind that builds something real. We spent Sundays cooking, went to a Bulls game when we visited his cousins in Charlotte, had our first real disagreement about travel plans, and neither of us threatened to walk away just to win. At work, the regional account turned into a promotion. More responsibility, more travel, and somehow more balance. My condo feels like mine again. Lighter, clear, no emotional landmines hidden in everyday conversations. A month ago, Marcus joked that the building felt less dramatic lately. I told him I highly recommend Peaceful Love. He laughed, said it looked better on me. He was right. Looking back, the part that stays with me isn't that Daniel wanted options. People get confused, people leave, people make selfish choices. That's human. What stays with me is how he tried to wrap it in the language of love. Call it honesty, growth, self-discovery. But love that asks you to wait while it explores other options isn't love. Love that punishes you for having boundaries isn't love. Love that demands loyalty while offering none in return isn't love. Daniel didn't want freedom. He wanted insurance. He wanted the certainty that I would still be there, exactly where he left me, waiting. What he didn't expect was that I wouldn't. And honestly, that was the moment I finally started loving myself correctly.